We're with Riding Warehouse. My name is Charnel. I work in customer service. This is my buddy, Allison.
Hello, also customer service. So we answer phone calls and emails and all the other things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
yeah, we're just here to talk about saddle pads and kind of when people are starting out, or even if you've been long-term riding, kind of what to start with, you know, what kind of pads to look for, sizes, and there's so many different options out there. So we're kind of here just to help with those questions or kind of go through them.
Yeah, so I believe Bill will be filtering the questions. So definitely, you know, keep taking them away and he'll let us know if you guys have any questions. We'll for sure take the time to answer them fully to the best of our abilities. So yeah, we pulled a few from our warehouse that we personally stock and carry at Riding Warehouse. So these are just kind of a variety of materials and sizes, shapes, and everything like that. So a lot of people ask us, you know, how do I decide what size saddle pad I need? And a lot of people kind of have a hard time narrowing it down. So it's really helpful to have those saddle pad measurements and saddle measurements to compare prior to purchasing. So most websites, including ours, do list like the spine length, the flap length, and the width and everything, which does kind of help give you a general idea of how big the saddle pad is, you know, prior to ordering it. So you have a pretty good idea of whether it's going to fit your saddle or not. And there's also just so many factors to take into consideration as far as like the size of your horse as well and everything, as if their back is short or longer, if they have high withers. There's just a lot of pieces at play. So it can be a little overwhelming sometimes, and with so many out there, it is kind of hard to narrow it down, but the size is very important. And it's recommended to have at least like 2 inches of saddle pad showing along the entire perimeter of your saddle. So having that amount showing at least around the whole thing kind of helps distribute the weight a little bit more evenly and keeps you and your horse a lot more comfortable during the ride. So that helps, you know, with the sizing too, is just keeping that in mind, that that 2-inch recommendation is suggested for the size of the saddle pad.
Yeah, and also just considering the different brands, because there are, like she had mentioned, there's a lot of brands out there. We do carry quite a bit of the brands, and it's kind of hard to decide, where do I go from here? Am I, you know, are you English? Are you an endurance rider? Are you Western? Do you do trail riding? Are you pleasure or more competitive? So there's a lot of factors kind of to consider into that. If you're needing shims or inserts for a little additional comfort or supports, you know, there's a lot of different options, but one of the ones, like she mentioned, a few ones that we pulled, like we pulled out some toelet ones. There's woolback, there's coolback, so it depends on kind of also preference, customer preference, and also your horse as well, between when you're talking about woolback or coolback. If your horse is a little bit more sensitive maybe to wool, then the coolback is a nice option. Both have very good wicking distributions going on, where it allows for not too much buildup of heat. And then also just with and what's nice about with the coolback, they are synthetic, but they are dyed. So if you want a nice cool color to match with your tack. So I know a lot of endurance riders do like that. They want everything to be matchy-matchy. So if they don't have a horse that is sensitive and they do want to, you know, have a nice colored theme tack going on, that is definitely a nice option to consider. And even with Toka, they have, if you are interested in shims or inserts, there is a more like a triple thick option as well, depending on which ones you're looking at. So a lot of nice things to kind of consider there as well.
Yes, and just go a little bit more into what Charnel was just talking about. We have our handy dandy Toka pads right here. So this is the woolback. It is all natural, off-white. So these are, you know, not synthetic. They're going to be not dyed. It will just be this one color and that's it. This is very popular in the endurance trail riding arena. My family personally has like 5 of these. So we definitely stock up on them, and you know, they're definitely nice and good too with the, like the triple thick she mentioned. If you want that even like more extra fluff for more support without adding in any inserts or shims or things, that does help too. For people who are wanting, you know, just a little bit more, because these do compress a bit over time. Not a whole lot. I would say maybe at most like half an inch.
Maybe, yeah.
Just, with the sweat and everything in continuous use, it does get more matted, and it will kind of just smush a little bit. So it won't stay this clean and pristine for forever. We wish they would, but they unfortunately don't.
And a lot of things what people consider when we say that it's basically 2 1-inch fleeces sewn together. While yes, it is that thick, as soon as obviously you put your saddle on and you're sitting it is going to compress as well. So that's stuff to consider as well. If you're looking for something, if you want a lot more thickness, that's when they would go to the triple thick. But if they're still not wanting any additional inserts or anything on the inside as well. So yeah, and I don't know if you talked about the care and stuff like that. Well, these are really popular, whether you're going for wool back or the cool back version. Get this in there with the different colors, just normal cool wash, gentle cycle, and typically I usually just hang mine to dry. I know with the cool back you are able to actually dry it in the dryer, but on a very cool like air dry setting, so that way you don't hurt it. And also if you are ever hanging it out to dry, try and lay it out not in direct sunlight to bleach anything out as well. I know that I've made that mistake a few times, so I got out the hard way. So stuff to think about. Yeah,
another thing with washing them too is if they become like especially matted, some people are kind of hesitant to put it in the washing machine, which I don't really blame them. So what my family has personally done in the past is taking like, a soft pressure washer and just spraying it down to get all of that built up sweat and nastiness out of there, prior to putting it into the washing machine and getting it extra clean. Yeah. So that works too. It's just they tend to like if you spray them down that way with a pressure washer or a hose, they will hold the water a little bit more. So just keep in consideration that it might take more time to dry if you don't put it in the dryer, because it'll hold the water for a little bit.
Yeah, it's like a sponge, basically, kind of like that.
And that's why it's so great at wicking away that moisture, because it just sucks it all up. So it's great.
Definitely, yeah. And I mean, usually a lot of comments that I get from customers is, while these pads are just really, not just with these, but of the other pads that we'll talk about as well, they're very fluffy, they're perfect, they're soft, and usually once you use them and start, of course has sweat and everything, and then when you wash it, you'll notice that it kind of creates these like little creases, kind of like that. It's still a usable pad, but usually what I do is I try to gently brush it out a little bit. I've heard of people using different kinds of brushes to kind of, as long as you're not actually hurting the pad and actually taking out the material, the fibers, that's kind of the nice little trick. But a lot of people are a little surprised after they wash it and it doesn't look quite as fluffy and cushioning as it did in the very beginning.
So if you guys have any questions on wool back versus cool back, definitely throw them our way. That's probably our most common question, is the difference of the two. It's mainly just the material, wool back being natural, cool back being synthetic and dyed.
Yeah, and then when we were talking about the triple thick, just as a side note, the triple thick is actually not the entire pad. So what a lot of times people think, I can just put it in front of myself, they think that it's like the entire pad, when in fact it's just around like the top of the seat part where the saddle is going to lay, so that way you're not having any additional like bulk down here, which obviously is definitely something you don't want to run into as well. So just a little side note on that with the triple thick as well.
Yes, and another thing that's kind of similar is we have this Sceeto Pad. Some people are pretty familiar with Sceeto. This one was actually brought back to Writing Warehouse recently by popular demand. It is the all-purpose one, I believe, for this particular cut. And so it kind of has what Chanel was talking about, of like the extra fluff and everything right underneath the spine, but the flaps are gonna not be, the fleece all the way down, just to reduce that bulk, so you actually can still like feel your horse and communicate with them pretty accurately with your legs and everything. But these guys do have inserts inside that can be removable. So any saddle pad with inserts, you definitely want to take them out prior to washing. Sometimes you kind of forget they're in there. So definitely, take them out prior to any cleaning or anything like that. But this one is pretty cool too, because it does have these like rubber grips up here, which helps adhere your saddle, down a little bit more to avoid any slippage that might be occurring. So that is a nice factor if you find a saddle pad with this on top, because it does kind of stick to your saddle a little bit more too. but that is a Sceeto Pad.
We also did bring one of the Matrix, also from Toplet. Let's see. So this is actually the Western version of it. We do have also an English, an endurance version as well. Put this up there. This one has the Extreme Pro, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know if I want to get that.
Excuse the noise.
Yeah. Sorry for the little bit loud.
There are Velcroed in there.
A little bit. And this is actually the one that we pulled. Is it the shimmable? Or is it not? Oh, it's not. I thought it was. So we do have a Western version that is going to be for the Matrix that is a shimmable version as well. So while it also will have the insert inside, it will have 3 pockets on both sides. So the front, middle, and then the back. To where you can add for even more adjustability if your horse has any saddle fitting issues or you're just trying to find that perfect fit for the saddle with your horse. So, oh, it is the shimmable. Yeah, it is the shimmable one. I thought so. Yeah, so it does have these pieces on the inside that you can take out, and you can, if you need to build up the front a little bit more and take out the back, you have that option. Sorry, I did just need to open up. Working on getting the inserts. And
this is great experience of
right?
How easy it is, or difficult it is.
So
to
easy,
get it.
so easy. Yeah, I've been a Sceeto fan for like ever, and then I finally, bit the bullet and got some Toplet pads, and I have the Extreme Pro and Ortho Impact of the inserts, which we'll go into that a little bit later, but I love that Toplet has made getting inserts in and out so easy, where you have, sorry for the loudness, the Velcro all along the spine. Basically it goes from completely the top to the bottom, and it just makes getting the inserts in and out so much easier. I mean, I am very particular about the cleanliness of my saddle pads, and I just try to make sure they're as clean as possible through my rides, depending on how long I'm riding. And so I'm going to be washing them fairly frequently, so I'm going to be taking the inserts out a lot. So having them so easy, accessible to me is really, really nice. So yes, this one that we have here is going to be the Extreme Pro that you pulled. So there is a few different options. What we have is the Extreme Pro and the Ortho Impact. So the Extreme Pro has, it can get a little technical, but basically this is a pour-on material, and this is for very high impact. So a lot of questions that we also get between the Extreme Pro and Ortho Impact, a lot of people don't know, once they're thinking about Toplet pads and they're considering those inserts, they have no idea, they're not sure which one to go with, and they don't know the difference. So basically the Ortho Impact also has the pour-on, but it's going to be a little bit thinner, but it also has a memory foam as well. With the Extreme Pro, it's basically for high performance, high impact, and it's typically recommended for horses that are in their peak. They are developed, they have a good top line, they're not, trying to get into condition, they are where they need to be, they're not young horses, or they're having any issues with their back. So basically they're where they're supposed to be, and they're high performance horses, and they high impact, whether it be endurance or performance in the arena. That's a good choice. The Ortho Impact is nice also because it has the pour-on for still really, really good impact, but it also has the memory foam that basically allows for a little bit if your horse is getting into condition, maybe you're working with a little bit younger horse and their top line isn't quite where it needs to be. So it's kind of, from what I've noticed with other customers and myself as well, the Ortho Impact is kind of like the best of both worlds, where you get that, helping with the impact, but then you have that niceness of the memory foam as well. If you have any saddle fitting issues as well, it kind of can help with that too.
Yeah, definitely conforms a little better to the horse's back, because it helps distribute that weight really evenly too. And do we want to maybe go into the other materials for the core and
I'm going to throw it out if anybody has any questions to throw that into chat right now. I have a question. I'm a heavier rider and with a horse with steep withers, and it's I need a saddle pad that doesn't have a lot of compression to it because the pommel gets very close to the top of her withers. And what of these saddles here, kind of, I get the saddle pad in, I need to make sure there's kind of a minimum of compression, and the wool backs haven't worked for me. How do these others work along those lines? It looks like the one with the inserts with the foam pads is probably pretty ideal for that.
And are you using just like the standard like wool back?
I tried that and I've moved away. I'm using an Equipedic right now. It's probably about 1.5 inches of foam that's pretty incompressible, and it's worked out. That's about my 8th pad, and it's seeming to work out, and just kind of trying to see what some of the other options are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're saying that it just compresses the pommel packs, if I heard correctly?
The Equipedic's been pretty good, but I've tried some others. The wool backs have certainly compressed on me. And then you're riding wrong, you put your hand on your pommel, and all of a sudden you realize your fingers are getting crushed between the horse's spine and the saddle, and it's like, this is not good.
Yes.
So any of kind of like, there are, so when we were talking about the Sceeto and then also any of the tilted ones with the inserts, that will help with that. So if you're needing a little bit more, the inserts are a really nice option for that. Doesn't necessarily mean like the Extreme Pro, like the NATRC pads, because we do have, I don't know. Oh,
yeah. I'm just pulling the Equipedic pad in case anybody doesn't know what it is.
That actually looks exactly like mine, and I do like the pad, and I didn't know if you had them, but I went and but as that one's actually been working for me. But I wanted to hear some comments about some of the others. We do have a question online from Chris Gray. I need a good shimmable pad for a DP Saddlery endurance saddle. My horse is rehabbing from an injury, so one shoulder is slightly atrophied. Which one would you recommend I look at?
I mean, I'm trying to think with
one kind of something with like some adjustability.
Yeah. Whether it's this tokelet one in particular or maybe another shimmable one, because I'm trying to think of another shimmable one. Definitely one that has this like kind of like this matrix
Pockets.
ones. Yeah, the pockets where you can adjust if the horse is either, let's say, either lopsided or a little bit more high in the hindquarters, where if you need to lift up on one side, because we have had customers where they call in and they need some type of shimmable pad, and because their horse is maybe like a little bit more built up on one side, or they're gotten a little weaker on the other. So when they need to build up on the other side, like pad like this would be a good option.
Yeah, even just another option too. This is kind of like the concept we're talking about, is like these pockets. So this is a half pad, obviously, but with having the pockets on both sides, you can mess with, you know, how much foam or anything is in each pocket. So you can make it very like custom to your horse. So if it's you know, a little bit more built up on one side, you can have less foam. If it's more compressed on the other side, you can have more foam to kind of help aid in that recovery too. Just because you can fiddle with it and like make it your own, basically. So that's another option if you know, it's not kind of there in a saddle pad on the market. Half pads, depending on the brand. This is ECP. This is their 6-pocket shim half pad by ECP. So you can kind of mess with this as an option too. If you have an existing saddle pad and you just want to add something else, you know, on top of it, you can mess with the little shim pockets, which is handy. So that's also another option that might help resolve the issue.
Okay. Thank you. I kind of interrupted you in your middle of your talk, and I'll let you continue on it this point.
Interrupt us. Go for it. We love answering the questions.
I'm trying to think of.
We want to go over like felts and other materials and things.
We can. I was also going to talk about the super cores.
Go for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So another pad, I'll reach up here.
We're just going to delve a little bit more into materials.
Yeah. So we have quite a, like I said, and these are just like the few that we grabbed from our warehouse. So like I said, our website has quite a bit more to look from, but this is kind of like a nice base to start and just, you know, whatnot. So another pad that we have is the Super Core. This is the, I believe the Endurance. No, this is the, I think it's the English. This is short.
I think this is the
standard.
The standard one, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure, the English standard.
Yeah. So this is really nice. I have this pad for myself, or my horses. I've had it for a few years. This is a little bit different than kind of the ones that we've been talking about before. It has a little bit more of a smooth material. It's a kind of a slick material. A lot of people wonder if like it pulls hair. It does not. I've never experienced that with my own horses, and I haven't heard that from any other customer feedback. It's really nice, like a waffle foam material. So it kind of gives to that. So it's not just like on a flat board. It does have some give to that, and with that waffle foam material, it does aerate and make it a little bit more breathable, preventing from any hot spots. The one thing though I would recommend if anyone has any interest in these kind of pads, so this is pretty slick on the top. My saddle does have fleece on the bottom, my endurance saddle, so I don't have too much of an issues, but what I usually recommend people is a nice little kind of trick of putting some type of like grip material on top, to kind of keep the saddle and the pad together as one, while the pad won't move if you're doing up and down hills. I noticed a little bit that the saddle wants to move a little bit up front and back on the pad while you're doing your hill work. So like a simple little kind of DIY is kind of one of those like rubber grip mats that you can buy at any hardware store, any grocery store, stuff like that, that you put like in your, I guess in your drawer or stuff like that, kind of keeps things from sliding. I don't know what they call it, but those rubber mats, basically you can, stuff like that, you can just put on top like a nice piece cut out to kind of help for keeping it secure. Because that's one of the things that I noticed myself and some other customers were running into as well.
Okay.
That's one.
Yeah, there tends to be an issue of slippage, I feel.
Yeah.
Just especially in endurance and trail running, because everyone's going up and down mountains. So they run into that a lot, just kind of depending on the fit.
Yeah, and,
so,
and I know that Allison had also mentioned about having at least 2 inches, and that's good, just kind of all the way around. Usually I recommend a little bit more for like trail riders, because you have your pommel pack and you have your cantle in the front and back, and so I want my packs to be on the pad, not my horse. So that helps as well. I make sure that my pads are long enough to where they'll accommodate that as well. So something to kind of consider too if you are riding with packs in the front and the back as well.
Yeah, definitely. I personally like having more fluff everywhere. But yeah, a lot of people tend to also purchase like saddle pad liners separately, just in case they are experiencing any slippage, because sometimes you do run into that, just depending, especially if it's a new saddle pad and you're trying it out, and then you go on a first ride and boom, it's like on your horse's neck. Like, oh man, I just bought the saddle pad. So yeah, it's something like kind of a quick fix that might help resolve that issue is just purchasing like a saddle pad liner that's kind of like that waffly weave material. There's so many different materials for the liners. There's felt, there's even like little leather ones, and just a little something. It does help a lot with either gripping the saddle pad to the horse or saddle to the horse. Yeah,
the one thing about felt though, that's the one thing is it is breathable, and a lot of people like it for it not having any reaction if their horse is a little bit more sensitive. It's just a little harder to wash. That's the only thing that people, just to give them a little reminder of just care and stuff like that. If they are doing a lot of riding, and if they're they want to obviously keep the pad clean, sometimes they might have 2 pads, so that way they can kind of go back and forth between while they clean one and not wait, because like we kind of talked about before with some of the other pads, when you wash them, it may take them a little while, like maybe a day, give or take, depending on how wet the pad got from cleaning, and then also how sunny it is as well, or warm.
Yeah, and with the Epic Peak one, I'm going to bring it back over here real fast just to go a little bit more into it. So this underside is felt, so just kind of depends on your personal preference. And
a lot of people, when they ask, they don't know which one. It's a lot of times it comes down to preference a lot. What you like, what easeability you want of cleaning, if you want inserts or you don't, and the sensitivity of your horse, and how they are, if they're a little bit more sensitive to other things. It just kind of depends, and sometimes, at least with me, there's sometimes trial and error, kind of trying to see what works best for you and your horse.
Okay.
Yes, and also something to consider too sometimes is like a lot of saddle pads do have these wear leathers. They are either actual leather or suede. So kind of considering that too, just so you don't ruin it if you happen to, wash it.
And I can attest, I've done that before, not on this one, but I have done that before when you shouldn't have, and yeah, I had to replace it. So yeah, stuff to think about.
Yeah. So that's another good thing to keep into consideration for sure, is whether you actually have any leather or suede or any other material on your saddle pad.
Yeah.
Just for the washing and care.
Yeah, for sure.
A quick question backing up on inserts from Diane. What are your thoughts on saddle pads with multiple adjustable air bladders as opposed to the foam inserts?
Air bladders.
I personally, I've not run into that. I haven't had a chance to use those. Is that, what kind of, is she doing endurance riding or?
Endurance riding, yeah. She happens to be my wife. She just,
Okay.
She typed in the message I'm trying to answer. She has a new saddle pad, and the pad has inflatable bladders, which you can pump up with a bicycle pump for various firmnesses, I believe.
And that it came with the pad?
Yes.
Okay, what's the name of the pad, if I may ask?
She's downstall.
Cool. Yeah.
No, I don't know. I don't know.
I'm kind of curious. I haven't run into that. I haven't heard of those before.
I personally haven't either.
Yeah.
But it sounds like it would be a good concept.
Yeah, that definitely would be. Yeah. Did you say inflatable houseau? Was that with water? Did you?
In air inflatable. She just pumps it up with a bicycle pump. I think she says she can't recall the name of the pad.
Okay, that's okay. Yeah, no, that's really cool. Actually, I've not heard of that. I'll have to look into that a little bit later. That's definitely. Yeah. I have not heard of that, but.
All right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, I do have another question from Kimberly. What do you recommend to use in washing machines as far as the detergent for saddle pads, such as the Woolback or the Coolback?
Yes.
Great question.
So I don't know what Allison's going to say, but I usually use like Woolite, whatever is as gentle as you can use. I have heard of people using sometimes like blanket wash stuff. I haven't used that yet, but since it's obviously safe for your horse blanket, it should still be good for your pad. I always check the care instructions as well, because sometimes pads will come with specific labels. They'll say like wash with this. It just kind of depends, but I personally use just Woolite because you can find that at any grocery store, and it's very delicate and very soft and gentle, and really, really works well with my pads.
Yeah, there's also a few products out there that are geared specifically towards washing equestrian products like saddle pads and a bunch of other stuff. So we do carry a few. I don't remember the name exactly, but I think we carry two that are geared specifically towards washing like sheepskin products, which is nice. But basically any soap that is concentrated, also of course washer safe, is going to be the best, because you don't need like a ton, but something that is strong enough to really get in there and clean it. So yeah, a lot of people kind of get concerned about the suds too, because it is like a large product in your washing machine, and it can really foam up. So
usually what I also recommend is, if you're worried about that, do an extra rinse after that, so that way you don't have to worry about any additional particles or anything detergent on the pad.
Several rinses.
Yeah, exactly. So even if your horse isn't sensitive, you don't want that to be an issue.
Yeah, most of the washing products too that are geared for sheepskin or any other specific material are typically not too expensive. They're maybe like under $10. So they're pretty friendly cost-wise, and are material specific, which is nice. So you have no worries of possibly ruining anything. But yeah, it's basically just like a simple concentrated soap that's washer safe that you can also rinse out several times just to be sure it's really out of the washing machine before the next load of your clothes, possibly. Yeah.
Hopefully that helped.
We're out of questions, so you can continue, and hopefully we'll see if anything else comes up.
I do have a little surprise kind of towards the end of the video, like a little sneak peek of something. I was gonna just run down. I forgot to bring it up. It was just gonna be just a minute. I was just gonna run down and grab that.
Okay, that's okay. Yeah, I can go over some things while she is grabbing the surprise.
I'll be right back.
Okay, great. Well, we also wanted to give you guys a little bit further insight into Riding Warehouse and our upcoming holiday season, of course, which is very soon, around the corner. Thanksgiving is almost here, and super pumped. But we're going to be having a few sales and promos and things coming up through the holiday season. So if you guys are all curious and want to stay tuned into those and dates and amounts of the discounts and everything like that, and we also bring in a lot of new products, so we announced that as well. We do have a mailing list. So if you navigate to our website, which is just www.writingwarehouse.com, at the top right underneath English, Western, and Endurance, those little sub bars, there's a little spot that's called mailing list. So if you do want to be subscribed to specific disciplines, you're welcome to do so. You can check mark endurance. If you only want endurance, if you want endurance and Western, you can check mark both of those boxes. But we only send about 3 to 5 emails a month, so we're not going to spam you per se. Some people get concerned about that. We won't send you one every day. Let's just say that. But yeah, you can definitely subscribe if you want to, and we would keep you updated on all of our upcoming holiday sales and things and kind of early access announcements. So if you want to take advantage of those deals, you definitely can hop on that and get those discounts, because every penny counts with horses. It tends to add up very easily. So just saving money in the long run is awesome. And I believe our Black Friday sale upcoming, which of course starts the day after Thanksgiving, will be 20% off site-wide. So that will be the newest upcoming one if you guys are all interested. So another thing with the holidays is a lot of people want to create like wish lists in order to share with family and friends, like, hey, I saw this, I'm interested in it, Christmas present kind of thing. So we do have wish lists that are temporary and permanent. So if you are on our website simply as a guest and you don't have a customer login with your email and password, you can still create a wish list by selecting on the products, and instead of clicking add to cart, there's a little spot that says add to wish list. And you can name it and do anything you want with it. You can view it and edit it, remove items, add items, share it with someone. But if you don't have it tied to a customer login, the wish list will disappear within 24 hours, I believe. It's just like our shopping carts. So if you are on a website, add some things to your shopping cart and you check out as a guest. If you don't check out within 24 hours, your cart does disappear. So it doesn't stay in there permanently or forever unless the order is actually completed and processed for shipment and everything like that. But if you do want a wish list, can definitely do so. As a guest, you don't absolutely have to have a login. It just won't be there for forever. So if you do want to share it with someone, you can definitely create it and send it. Or even if you want to take a screenshot, that's always an option too. But if you want a permanent one that you could always have to reference, and if you want to create several wish lists, you can do that too. But to have a login with our website, an order does need to be placed if you don't already have a login. So some customers get a little confused with that whole process. And so to create a login on our website, you will have to have something in mind that you would like to order. And on the second section of checkout, it's called customer info, and there's a spot where you can input an email address and a password, and there's a little check mark right underneath there that says create an account. And once the order is actually completed, you will be able to log into our website after that with your email and password. And from there, you can have all of your order history tied, all of your permanent wish lists, and everything like that. That will all be tied to your customer account login if you actually create one on the website. So that's how to create it. That was a lot of detail really fast, so hopefully I didn't overwhelm you guys or confuse you, but we're always here to answer any questions. If you give us a phone call or a quick email, we definitely can offer some further insight if that was at all confusing. So it can get complicated pretty easily, but yeah, Chanel's back with her little surprise. Went over the holiday deals and wish lists and mailing lists and everything.
Awesome. So, okay, was there any questions on that, or
is there? I don't know.
Yeah, it looks like we're good at the moment.
Cool.
Okay. So let's see. Oh yeah, I didn't know if you want me to jump in that. Yeah. So one little quick thing, something like a little sneak peek. A lot of people, if they're familiar with our website, we do have Easy Care or Easy Boots as our boot choice. We do have Oh, excuse me. Sorry, a lot of breath.
We have lots of stairs here.
Yes, we do. So one thing that Writing Warehouse is really, really excited to announce that we will be coming next year. We don't have an exact date yet, but we will be bringing in these new boots. I'm going to try and come a little closer. They're called Explora boots. They're from Spain. Sorry if they're a little dirty, but I've been actually trying them on my horse currently, but I try to make them as clean as possible. But these we're actually going to be bringing in next year. Like I said, not really a specific date yet for these guys or any real big specifics, but we kind of wanted to, you know, give our customers a little heads up and kind of a little sneak peek, something to look forward to coming next year.
Yeah. The ones are very popular, but this will be a new one.
Yeah, something else to kind of give our customers a little bit more options to choose from. You know, I do love the easy boots, but it's nice to have kind of different options to choose from, you know.
What are the brand on those boots? I've been using Easy Boots and Renegades and Scoot Boots, and always trying to find, and what works in front doesn't work in back. And so I'm always trying to figure out not necessarily what's best, but what fits, and just kind of curious, what is the brand on that? And they're going to be coming next year? Explorer?
Yeah, Explora, kind of like exploration.
Explorer.
Yeah, Explora boots. I personally hadn't heard of them before, but they're a really neat design boot. It's just what we're kind of trying to do is giving our customers a little bit more options. People are very familiar with Easy Care and Easy Boots. While they have a lot of array, it's nice to have different brands to kind of work with. And like you said, different horses have different needs. You know, fronts don't always work with the back, so it's nice to have a different option to choose from.
Explora.
Explorer.
Exactly. Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have a whole lot more specifics to go in details, but we were just so excited to kind of tell our customer base about this new and exciting item coming in next year.
Yes.
I do have a question from Christian. As a novice user of hoof boots and loving them, I'm not sure how it is going to work once it gets well below freezing here. I don't think my fingers will be nimble enough to put them on in the cold. Any tips?
Any tips just for any specific boots, or just like trying to deal with
the cold? Like
in the cold?
Yeah.
Usually, I mean, obviously I try to wear thin gloves as much as possible. Bulky gloves never work for me. But use any type of thin insulated glove.
Hoof boots.
Oh, sorry, but okay.
So I think the rubber's getting stiff, and when they're cold, they can be kind of hard to get on sometimes. And any tricks?
Sorry.
Yeah.
I may have misspoken too.
Gloves help too.
They do, yes. I would say.
And she's using Renegades, and she assumes this would be an issue with any boot.
I mean, typically that's kind of like the standard. I mean, usually I'm currently also using the Scoot boots right now. It doesn't get super cold where we are, but I would just, obviously most boots are going to be made of that similar rubber material. So I feel like that's going to be probably a common issue for no matter what brand that you kind of decide.
Yeah, I don't know if something that kind of has like almost a little softer of a material. Of course, it wouldn't probably be as insulated, but something that's a little bit more pliable that won't constrict so much. Like the Easy Boot soft glove hoof boot kind of comes to mind because it does have a soft gaiter. Of course, it's not the actual shell of the boot, but that is a very good question.
That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, also just I'm just trying to think of just obviously with application, just trying to see if you can just store it in your house or something, or in a nice insulated barn or trailer prior to use. At least getting it. I mean, obviously getting it on, I don't know if it'd be more difficult, but at least the getting it on application should make it a little bit easier if you try and keep it maybe in your house or some slightly warmer area.
Yes, it's keep the truck warm and keep them in there until you need to, or yes.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Having it warmed up before going out.
Yeah.
Yes. Any other questions?
Yes.
Possibly.
I think that's it. Let's see. I think that's it for right now. I'll give people another moment.
Okay, yeah, I mean, that was pretty much all we kind of wanted to go over with you guys, just a general outline of a few that we carry and materials and different things here and there. So just wanted to give you a little sneak peek.
And also anyone is always welcome to give us a call or shoot us an email if there's any questions that you guys have, you know, if anything comes to mind, anything specific. You know, a lot of times we have customers emailing in pictures of their horse along with like the pads and the saddles that they're using.
Those are helpful.
Yes, and so we can kind of get a little bit more idea of what they're working with, because we know we're horse people as well. We know it can be a struggle sometimes finding that perfect pad that'll work great for you and your horse. Yeah, that too. Yeah. Yeah, I think the main questions that we get is hoof boots, saddle pads, and bits. That's a common thing people, you know, it's obviously difficult to try and narrow the search down.
Yes, especially when there's so many out there too.
Yeah.
Sometimes we get overwhelmed.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of options, so when I have more options, it's not always a better thing for me, so I get the struggle.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I think that looks like the questions. We really appreciate your taking the time to talk to us tonight, and we really appreciate all the support Writing Warehouse gives NATRC and has done over the years and continues to do. You've been a great sponsor for us, and thank you so much.
Happy to help.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys too.
Yeah.
Especially as us as trail riders. So yeah, it was great talking with you guys. Thank you so much for having us too.
Thank you for anyone who's joining. Thank you so much.
Yes.